My stepsister tortured me with lies for 30 years. Nobody believed me until my wife recorded her self-destructing. And now she's exiled from the family she loved so much. I'm 40 years old. I'm a lawyer, I'm married, and I have 2 daughters. And I need to tell this story because for 30 years, literally 30 years of my life, one single person managed to turn my existence into absolute hell and make my own family to treat me like I was the worst scum on earth. And the crazy thing, the truly fucked up part of all this, is that this person was my stepsister. Someone who to the rest of the world was the perfect girl, the innocent victim, the one who always had a smile and never did anything wrong. I guess I should start at the beginning. When I was 6 years old, and my father died. I don't remember much about him. Honestly, just some blurry images and the feeling that he was a good man, but his death basically destroyed my mother. She was devastated, alone with a small child, and I don't think she ever really recovered from that emotionally. When I was 7 or 8, I'm not completely sure of the exact date, my mother met James, and they got married, pretty quickly. James came with his own daughter, Jessica, who was exactly my same age, and at first everything seemed normal. I mean, as normal as a blended family can be. My mother was happy again, or at least that's how it seemed, and I just wanted her to be okay, you know? So I accepted everything without questioning it much. But things started to change very quickly. And when I say very quickly, I mean that within months, it was already clear that there were 2 types of children in that house. James had 2 other sons from a previous marriage, Andrew and Ryan, who were older than us, and basically from the moment we all started living together, a very clear hierarchy was established. James's 3 children received everything, literally everything, while I received nothing. And I'm not exaggerating to play the victim, I'm being completely literal. They had allowances, I didn't. They had cell phones as soon as they were old enough. I didn't. They could go out with friends, go to parties, do basically whatever they wanted. I had to ask permission for absolutely everything, and the answer was always no. Jessica was the worst in this regard because she knew exactly what was happening and enjoyed it. You could see it in her eyes every time James gave her something new, while I stood there with nothing. And what really fucked me up, what really made me feel like garbage, was that my mother allowed it. She saw all of this and said nothing, just stayed quiet and looked the other way. And I know. Now that I'm an adult, I understand it a bit better. She was probably afraid that James would leave her, of being alone again, of not being able to support me, so she sacrificed my well-being to keep the peace in that house. But when you're a kid, you don't understand that. You just feel like your own mother is abandoning you, that she prefers this new family over you. I remember once, I was like 12, I think. I asked her why Jessica had a new iPhone, and I didn't even have a basic phone. And my mother just told me that James took care of his children and that she couldn't afford to buy me those things. But that was a lie because James made good money. The problem wasn't financial. The problem was that he simply didn't give a crap about what happened to me. Jessica started lying about me from very early on, and they weren't small lies. They were things specifically designed to get me in trouble. She'd say I had pushed her when no one was looking, that I had stolen money from her room, that I had said horrible things about her at school. And James always believed her without questioning it, without asking for my version, without even considering that his precious little daughter might be lying. I was constantly punished for things I hadn't done, and over time I simply stopped defending myself because it didn't do any good. You could see on James's face that he had already decided I was the problem, that I was the troubled son, the one causing all, the conflicts in the family. And Jessica got incredibly good at this, like she really had a special talent for manipulation. She knew exactly what to say, when to cry, how to make her lies sound completely believable. When it came time to go to college, I knew I wasn't going to receive any help from James. That was more than clear, but I thought at least my mother would support me in some way. I was completely wrong. I got a partial scholarship to study law, which was a miracle considering I had to work full-time throughout high school because I didn't receive a cent in allowance. But the scholarship didn't cover everything, and I needed help with the rest. Jessica, of course, received everything paid for by James, private dorm, full meal plan, extra spending money, absolutely everything. I had to work 2 jobs while studying full-time. lived in a horrible apartment shared with 3 other people, sometimes didn't eat well because I simply didn't have money. And Jessica was at the same university as me, seriously. We went to the same damn university, and she knew perfectly well the situation I was in, but didn't care at all. In fact, I think she enjoyed it. There was a moment during my second year of college when I was so broke, so absolutely without money, that I called my mother crying, literally crying on the phone, asking her for help. I explained that I hadn't eaten well in days, that I was sleeping like 4 hours a night from working so much, that I desperately needed some support, even if it was small. And she told me, I swear this is word for word because I remember it perfectly. She told me she couldn't help me because James wouldn't agree to it, and that I had to learn to be independent. Meanwhile, Jessica was posting on social media about her weekend trips, her outings to expensive restaurants, all her new stuff. Can you imagine what it feels like to see that while you're eating instant noodles for the 3rd time that day? Things came to a critical point. Right after I graduated, I got my first real job as a legal assistant. It didn't pay incredibly well, but it was decent, and I finally felt like things were going to get better for me. I was still living in that horrible apartment because I was saving every penny possible, and one day I got a call from James, which was weird because he basically never called me unless it was to criticize me for something. He told me I needed to come to the house to pick up some of my stuff that was still there from high school. I thought it was strange, but I went anyway. And when I arrived, all my stuff was literally thrown in the entrance, in boxes and trash bags. James opened the door and told me, "You have 10 minutes to take all this, and I don't want to see you around here again." I tried to ask him what the hell was going on, what I had done to deserve this, but he just shouted that he didn't want to hear me, that I was ungrateful, that after everything he had done for me, all I did was cause problems. Turns out Jessica had invented a whole story about how I had supposedly been talking badly about James and her with extended family members, saying they mistreated me, that they had treated me terribly for years. And the ironic thing, the absolutely hilarious part of this, is that everything she said I was saying was completely true. But I hadn't said any of that to anyone because I was so used to keeping everything secret, to not causing problems, that I had simply endured everything in silence for years. But James believed every word from Jessica, same as always, and decided it was the perfect time to finally get rid of me completely. My mother was standing there while all this was happening and didn't say absolutely anything, not a single word in my defense. She just looked at me with this expression of, I don't know, pity? Guilt? But not enough pity or guilt to say something. So I took my stuff and left. And honestly, at that moment, I felt a kind of strange relief because I was finally free from that house, from that toxic family, from everything. I thought I could start over, build my own life away from all that drama. And for a while, things went well. I got a better job at a law firm. I met Amanda, who is now my wife. Things were improving. But Jessica couldn't leave me alone. It was like the idea of me being happy made her physically sick. She started spreading rumors about me in the extended family, telling them I had abandoned the family in a time of financial crisis, that I was a terrible son who had left my mother when she needed me most. It was all lies, completely made up. But the extended family had no reason not to believe her because Jessica was so convincing, so apparently sincere when she lied. Then things got worse, much worse. Jessica, somehow, and to this day, I'm not completely sure how she did it, found out where I worked and started spreading rumors about me there too. Nothing I could prove or that was serious enough to get me fired, but little things designed to make my colleagues distrust me, to make me look bad. She'd say I had lied on my resume, that I had addiction problems, things like that. And the sickest part of all is that she gained nothing from this. It's not like she was competing with me for something. She simply enjoyed destroying me. It was like a hobby for her. Amanda was the first person who really saw through Jessica, who didn't swallow her lies and her innocent girl act. When Jessica tried her usual manipulation with Amanda, trying to play the victim and paint me as the villain, Amanda basically told her to stop acting and to fuck off. It was the first time in my life that someone defended me from Jessica, and I honestly almost cried when it happened. But the worst, the absolutely worst of everything, came like 5 years after they kicked me out of the house. By that time, I was married, had a good job as an established lawyer, was living a normal and relatively happy life. Jessica, was also married at that point, although her marriage was a disaster according to what I found out later, and I think she was jealous that I was doing well while she wasn't. So she did the unthinkable, the most vile and disgusting thing anyone can do, and she started telling the family that I had sexually abused her when we were kids. And not just her, she also said I had abused her brothers, other young cousins, basically invented a whole narrative in which I was a monster, a predator who had been molesting children for years. When I found out about this, I could barely believe it was real. Like I felt like I was having a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. James called me, not to ask me if it was true, or to hear my side, but to tell me I was a piece of shit human being, that I should be in prison, that he hoped I would die alone and miserable. The extended family stopped talking to me completely. They blocked me from everywhere, and some even threatened to report me to the police. And all this, based solely on Jessica's words, without any evidence, without any investigation, simply believing her blindly because she was so good at acting like a victim. Amanda was furious, wanted to sue Jessica for defamation, but I knew that would only make things worse, that Jessica would find a way to use even that against me. There came a moment when I simply couldn't take it anymore. The stress of all this was literally killing me. I ended up hospitalized with acute pancreatitis, caused by extreme stress. The doctors told me that if I didn't lower my stress levels, I could have serious permanent health problems or even die. I was in the hospital, connected to machines, feeling like total shit, and all I could think was that Jessica had won, that she had managed to destroy me completely. But Amanda wasn't going to let that happen. She's stronger than me in many ways, and it was she who basically forced me to finally confront all this once and for all. When I got out of the hospital, we went directly to my parents' house, without warning, and I demanded to talk to them. My mother opened the door and looked surprised to see us, but let us in. James was in the living room watching TV, and when he saw me, his face turned red with rage immediately. But before he could say anything, I raised my hand and told him, "You're going to listen to me now. For the first time in 30 years, you're going to hear my side of things, and you're not going to interrupt me." And then I let it all out. Absolutely everything. I told them about all the years of mistreatment, of being treated like a second-class citizen in my own home, of Jessica's constant lies, of how they had kicked me out based on pure inventions. I explained about the abuse accusations and told them that if they really believed I was capable of something like that, then call the police, do a formal investigation, because I had nothing to hide. And then I said something that I think finally made my mother really listen. I asked her, directly, "How would you feel if Dad could see what you've allowed to happen to me? Do you think he would be proud of how you abandoned me for James?" My mother started crying, and James tried to defend her, saying I was being manipulative, that I was trying to make them feel guilty. But Amanda intervened and basically told him her truth too. She told him he was a shitty father, that he had treated his own stepson like garbage for decades, that he had raised a daughter who was a pathological liar and manipulator. And then Amanda took out her phone and showed them something I didn't know she had. Text messages that Jessica had sent to Amanda trying to manipulate her, saying horrible things about me, contradicting her own lies without realizing it. James read them, and you could see on his face that finally, after all these years, he was having a small doubt about whether Jessica really was the saint he believed she was. After that confrontation, I basically gave my parents an ultimatum. I told them that if they wanted to have any kind of relationship with me, they had to start questioning the things Jessica had told them, that they had to at least consider the possibility that she had been lying all these years. I didn't expect them to believe me immediately, but I needed them to at least doubt. And something happened after that. I don't know exactly what because I wasn't involved, but Andrew and Ryan, Jessica's brothers, apparently also started talking about things Jessica had done over the years, small lies they had noticed but never said anything about. The family decided to implement a strategy that was Amanda's idea. Basically, they were going to treat Jessica with total silence, ignore her completely, not respond to her messages, not invite her to family events, not acknowledge her existence in any way. The idea was that eventually Jessica would become so desperate for attention that she would give herself away somehow. And it worked. It worked incredibly well. Over the next 2 years, Jessica became increasingly uncontrolled, sending increasingly erratic messages, trying to create more drama, but everyone simply ignored her. It was like watching someone fall apart in slow motion. And I know I should probably feel some pity for her, but honestly, I felt nothing but satisfaction seeing her finally receive a bit of what she had put me through. The culminating moment came at Andrew's wedding about 6 months ago. Jessica was obviously invited because she was his sister, but the family had agreed to maintain the silent strategy even there. I was nervous to see her for the first time in years, but Amanda told me to stay calm, to just ignore anything Jessica tried to do. And Jessica tried everything, tried to talk to me directly at the reception, tried to cause a scene, but I simply looked through her as if she didn't exist. So she got desperate and went straight to Amanda and started telling her all these lies about me again, trying to make Amanda doubt me. Big mistake. Amanda let her talk for a minute, just listening, and then took out her phone and started recording. She told Jessica, "Repeat all that again, because I want to have a record of your lies." Jessica realized what was happening and tried to backtrack, started stammering excuses, but Amanda didn't let her escape. She confronted her right there with all the contradictions in her stories over the years, with the messages she herself had sent, with everything. And Jessica tried her usual tactic of playing the victim, started crying and saying everyone was being cruel to her, but this time no one bought it. That night, when we got home, I made a decision. I had saved for years all the text messages, emails, any communication I had with Jessica where she contradicted herself or let her true manipulative nature show. I organized them all, took screenshots of everything, and shared them in the family group chat with a detailed explanation of everything that had happened over the last 30 years. I didn't expect anyone to respond. Honestly, I just did it because I needed to get all this out of my system. I needed it to be recorded somewhere, the truth of what had happened. But people responded. Several family members started sharing their own experiences with Jessica, little things she had done to them over the years that they had ignored or excused. Jessica tried to enter the chat and start gaslighting everyone, saying I had manipulated those messages, that everything was taken out of context, but it was too late. People had finally opened their eyes and were seeing the complete pattern of her behavior. My mother called me the next day, crying, telling me she was so sorry, that she had been wrong all these years, that she had failed me as a mother. She asked me if I could ever forgive her. And honestly, I don't know if I can. To be honest, it's complicated. Part of me understands she was in a difficult position, that she was afraid of losing James and being alone again. But another part of me will never be able to completely forget how she stood there while they kicked me out of the house, while James yelled at me, while Jessica destroyed me with her lies year after year. I told her I needed time, that I couldn't simply forgive 30 years of abandonment with a phone call and some tears. James, for his part, has never apologized, and probably never will. I think his ego is too big to admit he was so wrong for so long. Now, 6 months later, things are weird, but better. Jessica has basically been exiled from the family. No one talks to her, no one invites her to anything. And according to what I've been told, she's furious, because her carefully constructed world of lies finally collapsed. My mother and I talk occasionally. We're trying to rebuild something, although I'm not sure we'll ever have a normal mother-son relationship again. Amanda and I have 2 daughters now, and I've been very clear with my mother that if she wants to meet her granddaughters, she's going to have to prove that she's really changed, that she really understands the damage she caused. I'm not going to allow my daughters to grow up seeing their grandmother treat me the way she treated me all those years. The strange thing is that now that all this has come to light, now that Jessica has finally been exposed, I feel free for the first time in my life. I no longer have to carry all this weight of secrets and lies. I no longer have to pretend everything is okay when it clearly isn't. My daughters are never going to know Jessica. They're never going to be exposed to her toxicity, and that gives me a peace I didn't know was possible to feel. Amanda asked me the other day if I regret waiting so long to confront all this, and the truth is, I don't know. Maybe I should have done it earlier. Maybe I would have saved myself years of suffering. But I also think I wasn't emotionally ready until I reached that breaking point in the hospital. Sometimes things have to reach their worst moment before you can find the strength to change them. Last week, my oldest daughter, who is 7 years old, asked me why we never talk about Grandma's family. I explained to her in the simplest way possible that sometimes families are complicated, that not all people are good even when they're supposed to be. She thought for a moment and then said, "But we're a good family, right, Dad?" And I told her yes, that we are a good family, that Amanda and I would make sure she and her sister always knew they were loved and valued unconditionally. And that's enough for now, I guess. That has to be enough.